Hey everyone, let's talk about the silent account killer, position sizing. It can literally make or break your entire trading account. But honestly, most of us completely ignore it because we're just so desperately focused on hunting down that perfect entry instead.
So I want you to ask yourself right now, is your strategy really the problem, or is it your size? We blow up an account and immediately blame a bad strategy. But let's challenge that today. Because the real issue is almost always how much capital you're actually risking per trade.
Here's the thing. Bad sizing makes your results emotional, inconsistent, and just dangerous. Imagine buying a highly volatile tech stock right before earnings. Even if you've got a great strategy and a genuine edge, if you just bought 10 times your normal share size, every single tiny tick down is going to send your heart racing. It turns completely normal market fluctuations into an absolute psychological nightmare.
So what is position sizing exactly? It just means deciding how large your trade should be based on your total account size, your stop loss, and your predefined risk limit. The ultimate goal here is to risk enough capital so you can actually grow your account, but not so much that one single bad trade completely destroys your discipline.
Let's dive right into the 5 signs of bad sizing.
Sign number 1. A normal loss feels emotionally huge. Have you ever had a planned loss that left you furious, panicking, or just desperate to revenge trade? Yeah? If so, your initial size created way too much pressure. Look, a planned loss should definitely be uncomfortable, but it should never be devastating. If you can't just calmly accept it, your position size is absolutely creating too much emotional weight. All right, sign number 2. Your actual losses consistently outgrow your planned risk. Think about it. If you enter a trade planning to risk $50, but you walk away down 150, your discipline is completely broken. Whether it's your stop being too wide or you just keep moving it, that bloats your losses. Your risk has to be defined before you ever hit that buy button, not after the trade starts moving against you. Sign 3 is a trap we basically all fall into at some point, and that's using the exact same size on every single trade. Defaulting to, say, 100 shares or one contract for every setup is incredibly dangerous. Why? Because different setups have entirely different stop distances. A wider stop means you need a smaller position size. A tighter stop means you adjust carefully. Proper sizing is based on risk, guys, not lazy habit. Moving on to sign 4, deep drawdowns. A small losing streak can cause massive damage to your account if you're sized incorrectly. Listen, every strategy out there has losing streaks. It's just a mathematical certainty. Your position sizing is what allows you to actually survive them. If 3 or 4 normal losses can wreck your account or completely shatter your confidence, you've got to bring that size way down. And finally, sign 5. You change your size emotionally. Position size should always follow rules, not your feelings. You've really got to be aware of sizing up out of greed after a hot streak, or even worse, sizing up out of desperation just to make back a loss. If your biggest trades are happening when you're angry, greedy, or desperate, your sizing is totally out of control. Now let's get into how to size corrected. We've looked at all the emotional pain of bad sizing, so now let's switch gears to the cold, hard math to fix it. It's really just a simple 4-step formula. Step 1, start with your current account equity. Step 2, decide your risk per trade, which ideally is about 1% of that balance. Step 3, define your stop-loss distance per share. And Step 4, calculate your position size by dividing your total risk amount by that stop distance. Now, a quick tip. If that correct size still feels too big emotionally, just reduce it. Always round down to be safe. The best size is one you can actually execute. Now, if you're wondering why we advocate so hard for that 1% rule, the math is honestly brutal. Think about it. If you hit a streak of 10 consecutive losses at 1% risk, your total account drawdown is just 9.6%. You're bruised, but you're still in the game. But what if you risk 3% per trade? Those same 10 losses are going to cost you over 26% of your account. You'd need a massive win rate just to scrape your way back to break even. Let's talk about avoiding common sizing mistakes. You see, even the most perfect math gets completely ruined by our own behavioral pitfalls. A huge one is using mental stops instead of hard stop-loss orders in the market. Just thinking, oh, I know my level, I'll just exit manually, leaves you totally vulnerable to massive slippage, crazy fast news events, and oversized losses. Hard stops are what actually close the trade automatically, exactly how you planned it. And speaking of stops, moving your stop-loss mid-trade is a fatal error. Let's say you drop your stop from $190 down to $188 just to give it some room.
Well, guess what? You've just magically doubled your initial risk without adjusting your position size. Some other major killers include sizing up just based on sheer confidence instead of risk, risking way too much in highly volatile markets, or confusing your total position value with your actual defined risk.
Next up, fixing sizing with TradeZella. So to systematically enforce all this discipline, you really need to track your R multiple. Basically, is your planned risk actually matching your realized loss? TradeZella automatically tracks this for you. So if you plan to risk $500, but you lost $730 because you messed around and moved your stop, TradeZella logs that negatively. You can instantly see if these oversized mistakes are the actual root cause of your biggest drawdowns.
Using analytics gives you such a massive edge here. Features like tick-by-tick trade replay let you visually review the exact second that sizing pressure caused you to panic and exit. And when you combine that with emotion tagging and Zella AI session reviews, it catches those sneaky behavioral patterns you definitely miss on your own. It basically takes sizing from being an emotional guessing game and makes it highly measurable. Let's get to the final verdict. Here is the absolute bottom line for this explainer. The goal is not to just trade bigger. The goal is to trade at a size that lets you follow your plan consistently. Correct sizing is your shield. It protects your capital mathematically, and it protects your mindset emotionally. Now, if you are really ready to get serious about tracking your risk and locking in that discipline, you can try out TradeZella using my link. Even better, you can get 20% off all TradeZella monthly and yearly plans by using the exclusive promo code WOR20 at checkout today. I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Will your very next trade be based on lazy habit, raw emotion, or cold, hard math? It's time to ditch the emotional sizing, run the numbers, and start executing like a true professional. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.